The sky over the small Earth outpost was dark, filled with smoke and dust. It had been burning for days. Alien ships circled above like vultures waiting for the last breath of their prey. Inside one of those ships stood a young alien warrior named Kornick. He was only 17 cycles old, but he was strong, fast, and proud. He believed he was ready for war. Kornick wore green battle armor, polished and new. He looked at his reflection in the wall and smiled. This was his first real mission, a real fight against humans. His heart beat fast, not with fear, but with excitement. He had trained all his life for this. The other alien warriors, older and stronger, stood beside him. They were calm, cold, and quiet. But Kornick could not stop grinning. He had seen videos of humans. They looked weak, slow, and soft. Their weapons were old. Their cities broken. They were no match for the might of the Avante. "Empire, target in sight," said the pilot. They were flying over the last human base in Sector 9. Only one human commander had stayed behind. All others had fled or surrendered. "Let me fight him," Kornick said, with fire in his eyes. The captain turned to him and nodded slowly. "Do not be foolish." "Boy," he said, "this human is not like the others." But Kornick only smiled. How strong could one human be, after all? The dropship landed in a circle of broken metal and dust. The alien warriors stepped out, weapons ready, and there he was, a single human, standing in the open. He wore strange, bulky armor, black with silver lines. It looked heavy and slow, like something from an old movie. Kornick laughed out loud. "Is this your hero?" he shouted. "A man in a metal shell." The other aliens chuckled too. They pointed at the armor, called it clumsy, useless, stupid. But the human said nothing. He stood still, quiet as a stone. Then, slowly, he raised his hands and removed the helmet. Kornick stopped laughing. The man's face was scarred, his eyes sharp like blades. There was no fear in them, only calm. Then the man pulled off the chest plate, then the shoulder guards, one piece at a time, and what stood before them now was not weak. The man's body was like steel, muscles thick and carved. His skin had strange marks, like lines of light running through it. Not tattoos, not scars, but something else. Something glowing. "What is this?" Kornick whispered. No one answered. Even the captain was silent. The human took a step forward. Not slow, not heavy, but fast, too fast. He smiled, not in peace, but like a hunter who just saw his prey. He cracked his knuckles, and his voice echoed through the dust. "You thought the armor made me strong," he said. "You're about to find out what it was really for." And then he ran, faster than anyone expected. Before the aliens could aim, he was already there. He hit the first warrior in the chest, armor cracked like paper. The second tried to shoot, but the human spun, kicked, and dropped him. Kornick stared in shock. This was no normal human. This was a monster. A beautiful, terrifying monster. The human moved with perfect control. No wasted motion, no fear. He was trained, no built for this. Kornick raised his weapon, hands shaking. But the human stopped and looked at him. Not with hate, but with something worse. Disappointment. "You're just a kid," the man said. "Go home." Then he turned and walked away, like the fight was already over. Like none of them were worth his time. Kornick wanted to chase him, wanted to prove himself. But his legs would not move. His heart, once full of pride, now felt heavy. The other aliens were frozen too. No one said a word, only the wind moved, carrying the dust across the battlefield that day. Kornick learned something no training could teach. Sometimes the real danger does not wear armor. Sometimes it walks, calmly, without fear, without mercy, and laughs last. The battlefield was quiet. But inside Kornick's head, everything was loud. His blood pounded in his ears. His mind repeated the same moment again and again. That moment when the human walked through their squad like wind through dry grass. He had no armor, no shield, no fear. And still, he was winning. Karnak had never seen an enemy like this. Not in training, not in combat drills, not even in war simulations. This was something else, something real. The human didn't run. He danced, through bullets, through laser fire, through 5 elite warriors who had never lost a fight. They fell, one by one, with a punch, a twist, a strike to the throat, no wasted movement, no mercy, just precision. The captain shouted orders. Fall back, form the line, but it was already too late. The human was in the center of them now. Karnak turned just in time to see the man catch a plasma blade with his bare hand. The blade hissed against his skin, but didn't burn. He smiled and broke it like a toy. Karnak aimed his rifle and fired. The shot hit the man in the side. Smoke rose, but the human didn't fall. He just looked down at the burn mark. Then back at Karnak. His eyes glowed for a second, and then he charged. Karnak didn't remember falling. He just remembered hitting the ground. Hard, the sky spun above him. He couldn't breathe. The human was standing over him now. The man didn't strike. He didn't even raise a fist. He just looked down, like he was deciding something. "You're new," the human said softly. "First mission." Karnak nodded, slowly. His pride was gone. His fear now lived in his bones. The man knelt beside him. His face was close now. Karnak could see strange lights running just under his skin. Not tattoos, not wounds, something alive, technology. Mixed with flesh, like the human had been built in a lab, not born in a home. "You should remember this." The man said, "I don't fight because I hate your kind. I fight because your kind never listens." He stood up and turned Karnak. Could have attacked him from behind, but his arms refused to move. He didn't want to fight. Not now. Not against something that felt more like a force of nature than a man. The dropship sent out a retreat signal. Aliens ran back to the ship, dragging their wounded. The human didn't stop them. He just watched, silent and still, from the air. The human base looked broken, but inside, they had him. One man who had turned fear into a weapon. One man without armor who didn't need it. Karnak sat alone in the corner of the ship. His hands shook. He had dreamed of glory, but found something else. The captain walked over and sat beside him. He didn't speak for a long time. Then he said, "Now you understand why we fear them." "He's not a soldier," the captain said. "He's a relic from the old wars, a ghost. One of the last from Project Revenant." Karnak looked up. "What's Project Revenant?" The captain didn't answer. He just stared out the window. At the human, still standing alone, still watching. "Pray we never meet him again," he whispered. But deep down, Karnak thought, "I know we will." And next time, he wouldn't just run. Next time, he'd be ready. Or so he hoped. They called him a ghost, but ghosts don't bleed. And ghosts don't break bones with their hands. Whatever he was real. Karnak sat in the med bay of the command ship. His wounds were healing, but his thoughts were not. He kept seeing those eyes, not angry, not wild, just controlled to calm, like the human had done all this before, many times. Alien officers whispered about the human. They didn't say his name, only a code, Revenant 7. Karnak had never heard it before. Not in training, not in war history. But now, that name was everywhere. In reports, in meetings, in nightmares. The High Council ordered an investigation. Who was this human, and why was he so dangerous? Deep in the archive level of the mothership, alien scientists worked day and night. They scanned the battle footage, measured the strength of each strike, mapped the patterns of movement. One report came back. The human speed was faster than standard gravity should allow. His bones were reinforced. His heart rate never spiked, even when fighting 6 warriors at once. "This is not normal," the chief scientist said. "This is design." "What do you mean?" Karnak asked. The scientist turned the screen toward him. It showed a diagram of the human's body. Red lines across muscle and bone, and glowing circuits hidden beneath skin. "He has no implants," the scientist explained. "No armor. No boosters, no tech inside. All of it is part of his biology. He's built like a machine," Karnak whispered. "No," the scientist said. "He is a machine, disguised as a man." The name came up again. Project Revenant. A top-secret human program from the old galactic war. Before peace treaties. Before rules. Before mercy, the Revenants were not born. They were made, genetically crafted, trained from childhood. Taught only one thing: how to kill aliens. Most were destroyed when the war ended. Earth itself shut down the project. Too dangerous, too unstable. But some went missing, and now one had returned. Karnak stood silently in the lab. His pride was gone. In its place, curiosity. What happens if more of them wake up? He asked. The scientist didn't reply. He just looked afraid. Karnak left the room. He needed air. He needed answers. Later that night, he received a private message. No name, no source, just a short file. A single video clip. It showed the human. Not fighting, not running, just sitting in a dark room, looking at a photo. A photo of a child, maybe a son, maybe a memory. And then the human spoke. Not to anyone, just to himself. Soft words. "I didn't want this," he said. "I was made for war, but I wanted peace. They brought the war back, so I became what I was again." Karnak paused the video. His hands felt cold. This man, this monster, had once been human, maybe still was. He didn't fight for power. He fought because someone pushed first, and now he was awake again, and more dangerous than ever. Karnak knew this wasn't over. This was only the beginning. He looked out the window toward the blue planet below, where Revenant 7 still walked, waiting, watching. And somewhere deep inside, Karnak no longer hated him. He wanted to understand him, because in that one moment, Karnak realized something terrifying. Maybe, just maybe, they weren't so different after all. Asterisk, there was silence on the moon base. Too much silence, the kind that made your skin feel tight, the kind that whispered something was wrong, even before you saw it. The outpost, called Echo 9, had stopped sending signals 3 days ago. No alerts, no distress calls, just nothing. Alien Command thought it was a technical fault. But Karnak didn't believe that. Not anymore. He had seen the human. He had heard the word Revenant, and now, this silence felt familiar. So they sent a team, 12 Evante soldiers. And Karnak, the ship landed quietly on the dead rock. No resistance, no defense systems, just black dust and long shadows. The base stood like a skeleton, half buried, half forgotten. Cold metal doors waited with no welcome. Karnak stepped in first. His hands were steady, but his heart was not inside. Lights flickered like dying stars. Long corridors stretched into darkness. Signs of struggle were everywhere. Burn marks on the walls, blood smeared across floors. But no bodies, no humans, no aliens, nothing. Where is everyone? One soldier asked. No one answered, not even the air. Then the lights turned off. All of them, in one blink, total darkness. Karnak activated his night vision. Static, just static. Something's jamming us. The captain said, switch to thermal. They did, and that's when they saw it. Heat signatures, not one, not two, dozens, moving fast, circling them, but there was no sound, no footsteps, no breathing. Then the first scream. It came from the rear unit. By the time they turned, the soldier was gone. just his weapon spinning slowly on the ground. The team formed a circle. Weapons ready, but fear had already entered the room. It sat in their chests, heavy and wet. Like a second heartbeat, something's hunting us. Karnak said. The captain looked at him. You think it's him? Karnak didn't reply. He just listened, and then he heard it breathing. Soft, steady, right behind him. He turned, fast, weapon raised. No one there, but in the far corner, a figure stepped into the light. It was him, the human Revenant 7. No armor, no gun, just blood on his hands and calm in his eyes. You followed the signal, he said. Good. The soldiers opened fire, but he was already moving. The bullets hit walls, not flesh. He disappeared into the dark like smoke. Another scream, another soldier gone. Karnak ran down a side hall. The walls were tight. The lights flickered red. The sound of footsteps echoed, not his. Someone else was close. He turned a corner, and there he was. The human, waiting, they stared at each other. Two enemies, two survivors, two shadows caught in the same storm. The human didn't attack, he just spoke. I'm not your enemy, he said. But your leaders won't tell you that. Karnak kept his weapon raised. Why did you kill them? He asked. The man stepped forward. I gave them a chance, he said. They shot first, always do. Karnak wanted to believe him, but his training pulled at his thoughts. This was a human, a weapon, a killer. But why did he walk away in the last battle? Why didn't he kill Karnak when he had the chance? The human walked past him, slowly, not afraid. I didn't come here to fight, he said. I came here to warn you. Warn us. There's something worse coming, the human said. Something your empire created but couldn't control. And it's already awake, before Karnak could ask. The man vanished into the dark again, just like before. Just like a ghost. Back on the ship, only 4 of the original 12 returned. The base was sealed, the files taken. The official report said, ambushed by human forces, but Karnak knew better. There was no human force. There was only him, and maybe, just maybe, he wasn't the monster everyone feared, but the only thing standing between them and something far worse. The moon base was gone, not destroyed, just gone. Locked, silenced, erased from maps and minds. The few survivors said nothing, not because they were ordered, but because they didn't understand what they had seen. Karnak sat in his quarters. Lights dim, eyes wide. He kept hearing the words again and again. There's something worse coming. The human had walked through fire, through bullets, through fear, not to kill, but to warn. Why? Why would a revenant care unless it was true? Alien Command called it nonsense, a trick. They said the human was unstable, dangerous, but Karnak had looked into his eyes. And monsters don't lie like that. Later, a hidden message arrived. No source, no sender, just data. Files, images, maps, when one word burned into the top line. Origin. He opened the files. It wasn't just about the human, it was about his creation. And something else, something older. The Revenant Project was not human-made alone. It had help. Alien help, Evante scientists, centuries ago, had traded knowledge with Earth. Secret deals, joint experiments. Trying to build the perfect soldier, they succeeded, and then tried to erase it. But the human was not the last Revenant. There was another, codenamed Black Root. It had been locked deep underground, buried beneath the planet's crust, because even the scientists were afraid of what they had built. Emotionless, programmed to adapt, cannot be killed by physical force. The notes were broken, glitched. Some lines made no sense. Others were just screams transcribed into text. The human Revenant 7 had gone to the moon base for these files. He wasn't hunting, he was preparing. Karnak understood now. The The man wasn't their enemy. He was a last defense, a weapon against their own forgotten nightmare. But it was too late because something had woken up somewhere beyond the neutral zone. A ship vanished without a signal, then another, and then a colony minus 600 lives wiped from orbit. No blast marks, no survivors, only silence. Alien Command called it rebellion, but Karnak knew better. Back in his chamber, he received one more message. This time with a voice, the human's voice. If you're reading this, it said, then they haven't told you the truth. I'm not here to fight you. I'm here to fight it. Karnak leaned forward. Why me? He whispered, the message answered, because you didn't shoot. And because you're not afraid of asking the real question. Karnak sat still, alone, surrounded by a war no one wanted to name. He looked out the window. Toward the stars, somewhere out there, a shadow moved. Not human, not alien, just hungry, and the only one who could stop it was a man who no longer wore armor, but carried something heavier. Truth. Asterisk, the message didn't come through official channels. It wasn't logged, tracked, or traced. It didn't pass through satellites or relays. It came straight into Karnak's private console. Like it had been waiting, he stared at the screen. There were no warnings, no encryption, just a blinking symbol. One word pulsing in red. Speak. Karnak hesitated, then pressed play. The screen stayed black, but the voice came clear, low. Calm, human, but not cold. Hello again, it said. You know who I am. Karnak leaned closer, his heart already racing. The voice continued. You survived, so did I. That means something. You've seen what's coming. Even if your leaders keep lying. The voice paused, then it changed. Softer, heavier. I didn't send this to scare you. I sent it because I need you. Karnak froze. Need him? What could a human revenant possibly want from him? I can't do this alone, the voice said. There's something out there, older than both our kinds, something your people helped build. Then buried, but now it's awake. Oh. Brief sound followed, static. Then a new voice came in. A recording, alien, scared, our experiment. It learned, it rewrote its own code. It doesn't follow pain, doesn't feel time. It only grows. The voice cut off. Then the human spoke again. You call me the enemy, the ghost, the mistake. But I'm your last shield, and I need a second. A still image flickered onto the screen. It was a location, a dead asteroid near the neutral zone. Marked in red, below it, a message. Come alone. Karnak stood silently. His hands clenched, his mind spinning. Was this a trap or a test? He remembered the first battle. The strength, the speed, the mercy. He remembered the moon base. The warnings, the missing soldiers. But he also remembered the human's eyes. Not wild, just tired. Later that night, Karnak went to his commander. I request a solo mission, he said. Target is a rogue signal from asteroid sector Theta 6. The commander raised an eyebrow. Revenant? Karnak didn't answer. The commander didn't press. He just nodded slowly. Don't die, he said. Karnak gave a short smile. I'll try. The ship was small, fast, built for stealth. No backup, no rescue. One trip, one answer. As he entered the asteroid's orbit, he saw it. A silent platform floating above the rocks. Not human, not alien, just metal and time. He landed, stepped out, and waited. For a moment, nothing. Then, footsteps. The human stepped out from the shadows. Same face, same eyes, but something had changed. Less anger, more weight. Like every moment now mattered. They stood facing each other. No weapons raised, no words yet, just silence. Then the human spoke. I didn't call you here for a fight. I called you here to ask Karnak. Tilted his head. Ask, what? To stand with me, the human said. When it comes, not as enemies, but as the last two who still care. Karnak looked into the human's eyes. He saw no trick, no hatred, just truth, and something else, respect, in that quiet place between stars. The young alien warrior gave the only answer that mattered. A nod. No contracts, no flags, just an understanding. 2 weapons, 2 survivors, preparing for something that didn't care who was human or alien, only that everything dies. The sky above the asteroid was black, not the normal kind of black, but a deep, endless nothing. Like space itself was holding its breath. Karnak stood on cracked ground, his boots heavy with dust, his hands steady, his heart no longer afraid. Across from him stood the human, Revenant 7, bare arms, calm eyes. No armor, no mask, only purpose. They didn't speak at first, because some truths didn't need words. Because this was not a fight for revenge or hate, this was a test. You sure about this? The human asked. Karnak nodded once. If I fight beside you, he said, I need to know you're still stronger than me. The human smiled, not cruel, almost proud. Then let's find out. And they moved, faster than wind, harder than steel, one strike, one block, one dodge, like lightning made flesh. Karnak had trained for years, but this was different. This was like fighting a storm. The human didn't just attack. He predicted, he adjusted, he flowed. But Karnak was not the same boy from the battlefield. He had seen fear, felt loss, and now he had purpose to blow after blow. They traded hits, not with rage, but with honor. Metal cracked, blood spilled, but neither fell. Not yet. Then came a pause, both breathing, slow and deep. The human lowered his fists. You've changed, he said. You fight with control now, Karnak. Stepped forward. You taught me, he replied. Not with words, but with everything you are. The human looked up at the sky. Something flickered above a shadow moving through space. It wasn't a ship. It wasn't a fleet. It was the thing they both feared. Black Root, you feel it too. Karnak asked. The human nodded. Yeah, he said, it's awake. The ground shook beneath them, not from impact, but from presence. As if space itself was cracking open. This wasn't war anymore. This was survival. Karnak turned to the human. What now? Revenant 7 smiled again. Now we fight together, not as alien and human, not as enemies, but as warriors. One made in a lab, one born for glory, both reborn by truth. As the first tendrils of the dark creature touched the edge of the asteroid, they stood side by side, weapons ready, hearts steady. The human whispered, if we fall loud. Karnak replied, if we win, they'll rewrite history. Then they charged. Into the dark, into the storm, into legend, and in that final moment, they were no longer just soldiers. They were the last wall between life and extinction, and they stood tall, together.